Hey everybody. Since the IROC is running better now and I've got it on the road and can put some miles on it, I'm starting to turn attention to other areas like the interior. And early on, in one of my early videos, I got a comment back with somebody questioning why the owner would have parked this car just because the radio was torn out. And there must have been other reasons, and maybe there were, but I thought I would show you a little closer look at what I'm dealing with on the interior, and I have some projects coming in the near future to address some of these. Right now, I'm driving around without a radio and without any kind of a sound system, and it would be kind of nice to have something. Right now I got a portable MP3 player and a little battery speaker, so I got something I can listen to. But most of the time I just listen to the exhaust. The car is cool, but if you get out on the road and you're going to drive for a while, it's nice to have some jams, So anyhow, let me show you here for a moment. When I bought the car, this is pretty much what I had, and actually the shift knob was not here. The button wasn't here. Now, I didn't know, so I went out and bought them. I have them sitting on the shelf. I'm ready to put a new knob and button on. In the process of cleaning out the car, I found that they were wedged up underneath one of the seats, and I was able to pull them out and reinstall them. But the retainer for the knob is missing. The reason there's blue tape on here is because I didn't have the right parts. So when I got this, all I had was a stick and the little plastic piece here on the end. So temporarily, I'm driving around with blue tape. This was apparently in the way when they wanted to get the radio out, so they just pried on it till it broke off. If you look back inside here, there's part of the console right there that they've broken, and they broke out the pieces where the heater controls mount, because the heater control doesn't belong down here. It belongs up here on the inside of this section with a bezel around it, and I have the bezel. But this console's in bad shape, and I have two consoles, upper and lower, that I've picked up used. They aren't perfect, but I think between the two consoles I'll piece things together and I'll get one good one. I have purchased a shift plate because I know I'll need that. If you look up here at the front, this is the ashtray. The ashtray cover still works, and I think I have the ashtray tucked away somewhere. But you can see up here at the corners, on both sides, that they managed to break out the trim and tear this all apart. My first job would be to go put some of this back together. Right now, the heater and air conditioning is working with the pieces just laying here. I was going to work really fast on the console, but if you work on the console, I've got a crack in the dash here that's pretty good size. I also have a couple of used dashes, and all the used dashes have cracks somewhere. So I have this one that I could repair. I have two others. My intent is to take one of my other used ones and repair the cracks, put things back together, touch up paint them if I need to, and get a good dash before I pull this one out. I'd like to have a good one ready to swap. Next, I'm going to just clean the carpet. And here's the front passenger side. I've got a section where the carpet's worn down to the padding on the passenger side of all places. And right now the floor mats will cover that for the time being. But it's pretty soiled, and in the back there's a big red stain where there was a bottle of red dyed wax, and it leaked over the years, and so it stained the carpet. But if I'm going to go to all the work to work on carpet, my sense is the way I should go is I should pull out the seats, get the new carpet and install it. Then the way these things go, it's a sequential build. It seems that it would be easiest to do the dash with the console out of the way. When the console's out of the way is the time to do carpeting. So for the time being, I'm going to try to band-aid the radio together and the heater controls until I get my dash ready. I'll get the carpet and have carpet available so I can do that work. Right now it's nice weather and I'm in the driving season. I'll just have to decide when the right time is. So my first order of business will be to try to figure out how to get a radio working. I'm working on the side to get the consoles and things together, and like I say, carpet. And incidentally, let me show you the radio wiring. See, in fact, I've had to capture some of them, but I have multiple connectors of these 8-pin DIN connectors. There are 3 of them, with one marked rear, and it just goes into phono RCA plugs. I've got a half a dozen wires that look like they're tore out of the radio that was installed in here. I mean, the wires were bare. I actually had to go pull them all out and tape several of them because they seemed like they were shorting to the chassis. I found in the back well an instruction manual for a Kenwood graphic equalizer. So it looks like there are 8-pin DIN Kenwood style, and I've bought some matching connectors to repair these. And in the short term, I think I'm going to try to find a radio that I can plug into those connectors. I suspect, based on the connectors, that he may have had a Kenwood radio, Kenwood stereo, in addition to an equalizer. In the back, I'll show you in a moment, there are 2 amplifiers, and they're pretty stout, and I think these connectors run back to those amplifiers. I haven't sorted out where all the stereo speakers are. I know when I took out the heater core and pulled off the top dash pad that I had, I believe it was Yamaha speakers in the front. Some pretty good size. I mean, they fit in the standard space, but they're like 40 watt. Let me go to the back here for a minute. Pop the hatch. So to my comment about stains, see, if you come into the back, those are the colored stains from 30 years ago, and I've tried to move them, and they're in there really good. And if you get down in the well, there's more of it. But here what you have is a Kenwood KAC 8070. It's a 4-channel amp, and the way I understand it, I don't know how it's wired yet because I haven't tracked down the wiring, but it's supposed to be 70 watts per channel for the rears and 35 watts per channel for a pair of front speakers. In addition to that, I have this Yamaha YPA 700, which is also got 70 watt by 2 capability. And again, I haven't tracked down where all the cables go, but he's got plenty of power in here to drive a lot of speakers, the previous owner that is. They must have worked down toward the end, and he must have some pretty good speakers in here. So my intention is, I found service manuals for both of these units, and I understand the wiring diagram. I've got the one for the equalizer with its wiring diagram. So I'm going to try to track these down, and my thought is that I'll get a radio in here, even if it's just temporary, and I'll figure out how to drive these amps off of, I mean, it'd probably be overkill for what I need. I'm almost wondering whether he had a subwoofer box in here, but I haven't found speaker wires that just end, so I don't know. This should be fun to track down. And when I first looked at it, 70 watts per channel sounds like quite a bit. On one hand, on the other hand, I know you can buy a lot bigger amps than that. But based on my reading, they'll put 70 watts at a very, very low distortion. They're very high-end amps for, in the 1980s. Being this is restoration, I'm going to take a chance and see what these look like. Well, I'm working on things as a temporary band-aid to get these heater controls back in place, and I managed on the back of these pieces, what I'm going to do is make some brackets. An angle bracket for the left-hand side and a bridge bracket. If you look inside here, see they broke the holes out. So I think I'm going to do either an angle bracket or a straight piece here, maybe a combination, so that I can have something to screw these two holes in the bracket on, or 4 holes. I got 2 on each side. I've already kind of gotten the start. So on the left-hand side, I got this. On the left-hand side, I got this broken piece of plastic out, and you can see where it's been broken off from the original piece. So I've got a piece of sheet metal duct, some galvanized, put a fold in it to make it stiff, a couple pop rivets in it to hold it together. And I'm going to put this guy in there and drill through the side and put a couple pop rivets in there, and then work on the other side. What I'm working on right now next is to adapt a radio. I have a radio out of a Chevy Avalanche, and that ought to drop in that space. Alright, well, here's my piece, and I have a few holes drilled through the sheet metal. I'm not sure which ones are going to line up, so I drilled a couple extras. I think I'm going to mix up some 5-minute epoxy, and once I get the holes drilled, I'll put a little epoxy on there. That's where the bracket wants to be. I'm wearing gloves because that metal's sharp. I can put my pop rivet tool right on that. And then I have a second one down here. This is 5-minute epoxy, so it goes pretty quick. And it's a pretty warm day today, so it's probably going to go really quick. Put a dab of each, mix it up with our toothpick, and we'll put some down this side where it fractured. I need to make sure that I get it in and pop riveted before the 5-minute stuff sets. Let's see if we can get this back in here. Rivet gun. Normally you'd put the rivet in the gun first, but that's good. Pretty darn good. There's one. Number 2. But I still think I could do the same thing, which is take a piece of sheet metal, make an L bracket, and then set it up so that we can screw straight through into the L bracket. Let's see if we can get a piece of sheet metal here. It doesn't have to be extremely precise, so if I can just get it about to there, that'll make it. And it'll go behind. It needs to stick out about a ½ inch to get to there. The nice thing about this ductwork material is that it bends very easily. This one wasn't quite flat. I could have probably cut it off and gone a little further, but just flatten it out. It's got a straight edge. It needs to go about to there. And we'll just bend that thing 90 degrees right at the there. So then I've got a piece that's straight on one side, like so, that I should be able to put the sheet metal screws into. And then it's got a 90 degree, so I can put it into the side here, kind of crimp on it a little bit, and knock the burrs off. Again, this is a short-term bridge fix. Normally I would be a little more precise, but this broken plastic piece has one of these speed nuts, or sheet metal nuts on it, that holds it together a little bit. So that'll fixture it in place. So I'm going to use a little bit of epoxy on here, and then it should stay put while I'm drilling holes, and I'll put that in there. But with that in place and everything lined up, then I know where the holes need to be. So I got a block of wood over here on the ground, so because then I can come up underneath. My holes get drilled on a little bit of an angle because I could probably go find my right angle drill head, but for what I'm doing, I think this will be fine. Right, yeah, perfect. Once again, I just have to make sure I don't put this upside down or backwards. Okay. There's the first one. That's right there. We'll go back to both gloves just for safety's sake here. Let's get this line back up. It fell off of my pop rivet. Okay. Make sure it's in place. Yep. See if it'll, if I can get it up into position. That looks pretty good. I'll get a different one for up on top. All right. And this one will run just into sheet metal, like so. That's good. All right, pretty solid. That keeps it up, and now I've got an opening where I can start working on what it takes to splice in a radio.